I was putting the finishing touches on the homemade sugar cookies when my phone buzzed. "Christmas is canceled due to bad weather. Everyone's staying home." The text from Mom hit me like a punch to the gut. Rebecca Martinez, 35, stared at the message, my flour-dusted hands trembling slightly. I'd been planning this Christmas dinner for weeks, even bought that expensive wine Dad always talked about wanting to try. The kitchen around me suddenly felt too quiet. Garland draped the windows. My grandmother's nativity set sat perfectly arranged on the mantel, and 24 individually wrapped presents lay stacked under the tree. Each gift carefully chosen, each tag written in my best handwriting. The ham I'd special ordered was defrosting in the fridge, and I'd already prepped the green bean casserole Mom always requested. But something about the text felt wrong. Not the tone. Mom was always direct. It was the timing. Christmas Eve afternoon, and she was just now canceling? I walked to the window and peered outside. The sky was overcast, sure, but I'd seen worse weather in Denver. A few snowflakes drifted down, nothing that would stop the Martinez family Christmas tradition we'd maintained for over 3 decades. I checked my weather app. Light snow, roads clear. Jessica lived 10 minutes away, and she had that big SUV. Tom and Maria lived even closer. The unease in my stomach grew heavier. In 35 years, we'd never canceled Christmas dinner. Not when Grandpa was in the hospital. Not during the blizzard of 2019. Not even when the power went out 2 years ago and we ate cold sandwiches by candlelight. My phone stayed silent. Usually, when plans changed, our family group chat would explode with messages. People suggesting alternatives, rescheduling, someone offering to host instead. But today, nothing. Just Mom's single text and then silence that stretched like a held breath. I tried calling Jessica first, straight to voicemail. "Hey, it's your sister. Just wanted to check if you're okay with all this weather stuff. Call me back." Then Tom, same thing. Even tried my cousin Maria, who always answered her phone. Nothing. The silence felt deliberate now, calculated. I wandered through my house, each Christmas decoration now seeming to mock me. The stockings I'd hung for everyone, including little gifts I'd tucked inside. The special playlist I'd created with all our family favorites. Even the matching Christmas pajamas I'd bought for the traditional morning photo. I found myself at the kitchen window again, watching the light snow that supposedly made travel impossible. A neighbor across the street was loading presents into his car. Another family walked by in matching Christmas sweaters, clearly heading somewhere festive. The world wasn't stopping for this weather. So, why was my family? My chest tightened with a familiar feeling. That sensation of being on the outside looking in, even within my own family. I'd felt it before, during conversations that stopped when I entered the room, during inside jokes I was never part of, during family events where I somehow always seemed to be the one taking photos instead of being in them. I pulled up our family group chat and scrolled back through the messages. Last week, Jessica had posted about getting the house ready for something special. Tom had responded with laughing emojis and "can't wait." Mom had hearted the message. I'd asked what they were planning, but the conversation had moved on to other topics. Another moment where I'd felt like I was speaking into a void. The anxiety was building now, creeping up from my stomach into my throat. I needed to know, I needed to see. Without really deciding to, I grabbed my keys and coat. Maybe I'd drive by Jessica's house just to check if everyone was really staying home like Mom said. Just to ease this gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. The drive to Jessica's took 8 minutes through the supposedly treacherous weather. Light snow, clear roads, no problems at all. As I turned onto her street, my heart started pounding. There, in her driveway, sat Dad's blue sedan. Mom's white Honda was parked behind it. Tom's black truck was on the street, along with Maria's red car and even Uncle David's gray SUV. Every single car, the entire family was there. I pulled over 2 houses down, hands shaking as I stared at the scene. Warm light glowed from Jessica's windows. I could see silhouettes moving around inside, the shapes of people laughing and talking. Someone passed by the front window carrying what looked like a serving dish. Another figure gestured animatedly, clearly telling a story to an audience I couldn't see. My phone buzzed with a notification. Instagram. Without thinking, I opened it. Jessica had posted a photo 43 minutes ago. The entire family crowded around her dining room table, glasses raised in a toast. Everyone was there. Dad in his favorite Christmas sweater, Mom wearing the red blouse I'd bought her last year, Tom with his arm around his wife, Maria holding her baby. Even Grandma Martinez, who they'd told me couldn't travel because of her hip. The caption read, "Perfect holiday, nothing better than family time." I screenshotted it immediately, my hands moving on autopilot while my brain struggled to process what I was seeing. 23 likes already. Comments pouring in from family friends, cousins, people saying how wonderful it looked, how lucky they were to have such a close family. Close family. That didn't include me. I sat in my car for I don't know how long, watching the warm glow from Jessica's windows while the snow fell around me. The evidence was right there. They hadn't canceled Christmas because of weather. They'd canceled Christmas for me. They'd planned this without me, lied to me, and then posted about their perfect holiday for the world to see. The realization hit like ice water in my veins. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. You don't coordinate 6 different families, prepare a full dinner, and arrange childcare on Christmas Eve afternoon. This had been planned. For how long? Days? Weeks? While I was buying gifts and planning menu items and texting them about what time to arrive, they were planning a Christmas that specifically excluded me. Why? What had I done? Had I said something wrong at Thanksgiving? Was I too enthusiastic about hosting? Too pushy about family traditions? I ran through every interaction from the past month, searching for clues, for the moment I'd somehow disqualified myself from my own family's Christmas. But deeper than the confusion was something else, a grief so profound it made my chest ache. The family I'd thought I belonged to didn't exist. The relationships I'd treasured, the traditions I'd fought to maintain, the love I'd assumed was unconditional. None of it was real, at least not for me. I drove home through the same light snow that had supposedly made family dinner impossible, each snowflake now feeling like evidence of their deception. The Christmas music on the radio mocked me. The decorated houses in my neighborhood felt like they belonged to a different world, one where families actually wanted to be together. Back in my house, the silence was deafening. 24 wrapped presents sat under the tree, representing hours of thoughtful shopping and careful planning. The ham in the fridge could feed 8 people. The cookies I'd made were cooling on racks, enough for the crowd that was never coming. I turned off all the Christmas lights and sat in the dark living room, still wearing my coat. My phone buzzed occasionally. Probably more comments on Jessica's Instagram post, more people celebrating the family gathering I'd been erased from. I couldn't bring myself to look. The snow kept falling outside my window, and I finally understood that this wasn't about weather at all. This was about me. Something about me, something I'd apparently done or said or simply been, had made my own family decide that Christmas would be better without me. I'd spent 35 years believing I was a Martinez. Tonight, I learned I was just Rebecca, sitting alone in a house full of Christmas decorations and unanswered questions while my family celebrated their perfect holiday without me. The next morning, Christmas Day, I woke up on my couch, still wearing yesterday's clothes. For a moment, I forgot what had happened. Then, reality crashed back. The lie, the Instagram post, the empty house that should have been filled with family laughter. But something had shifted overnight. The crushing sadness was still there, but underneath it, something harder was growing. Anger. I made coffee with shaking hands and opened my laptop. If I was going to understand what happened, I needed to see the full picture. I pulled up Jessica's Instagram again, studying every detail of that perfect holiday photo. Everyone looked genuinely happy, relaxed. This wasn't a last-minute gathering thrown together because I'd canceled. The table was set with Jessica's good china, the kind she only used for planned events. Mom was wearing makeup and jewelry. Not something she'd do for a casual stay-at-home Christmas. I scrolled back through weeks of posts. There it was. 3 weeks ago, Jessica had posted a picture of her dining room with the caption, "Getting ready for something special." Tom had commented, "The big day is coming." Mom had left heart eye emojis. They'd been planning this for weeks, maybe longer. I screenshot everything. Every comment, every emoji, every telling detail. My journalism degree was finally coming in handy, just not the way I'd expected. I was building a case against my own family. The anger was pure fuel now, burning away the self-doubt that had plagued me all night. I Googled family exclusion patterns and found articles about scapegoating, family dynamics, the psychology of deliberate exclusion. The clinical language helped me see clearly. This wasn't about something I'd done wrong. This was about something broken in my family system, something that had probably been there all along. I thought back to other incidents over the years. The time they all went to Tom's graduation celebration and forgot to tell me until afterward. The family camping trip last summer that I only heard about through Maria's Facebook photos. Birthday parties I wasn't invited to, inside jokes I was never part of, conversations that stopped when I walked into the room. It wasn't just this Christmas. I'd been slowly erased from my own family for years, and I'd been too hopeful, too forgiving to see the pattern. My phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring, then ring again. On the third call, I answered. "Rebecca, Merry Christmas, honey. I hope you're having a nice quiet day at home." The casual tone, the fake cheerfulness, it made my vision blur with rage. She was calling to check if I'd figured it out, or maybe to assuage her own guilt. Either way, she was about to get more than she bargained for. "I'm having a very enlightening Christmas, actually," I said, my voice steady and cold. "I drove by Jessica's house yesterday." The silence on the other end stretched long enough that I wondered if she'd hung up. "Rebecca, I don't know what you think you saw." "I saw every single car in the family parked in her driveway while you were all supposedly staying home because of dangerous weather. Then I saw Jessica's Instagram post about your perfect holiday." Another silence. Then Mom's voice, sharper now. "You were spying on us?" I was trying to understand why my family lied to me on Christmas Eve. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I felt eerily calm, like I was watching someone else have this conversation. "How long have you been planning this, Mom? Because based on the social media evidence, it's been at least 3 weeks." "Rebecca, you're being dramatic. We thought it would be easier." "Easier for who? Easier to exclude me? Easier to have your perfect family Christmas without the daughter who apparently doesn't fit the picture? That's not... You always make things so complicated at family gatherings. You get upset about seating arrangements. You have opinions about everything. And there it was. The truth, finally. I made things complicated. I had opinions. I existed too loudly, too much, too inconveniently for their perfect family narrative. So you decided the solution was to lie to me and cut me out entirely." "We were going to do something with you next week." "No." The word came out harder than I intended. "No, you weren't. If I hadn't driven by and seen the cars, if Jessica hadn't posted that photo, you would have let me believe Christmas was canceled. You would have let me spend the holidays alone, thinking it was because of weather." I could hear voices in the background on her end, Dad asking what was wrong, Jessica saying something I couldn't make out. "I have to go," Mom said quickly. "We'll talk about this later when you're calmer." She hung up before I could respond. Calmer. As if my anger was the problem here, not their deception. I stared at my phone, feeling something crystallize inside me. For 35 years, I'd been the accommodating one. The one who adjusted her schedule, her expectations, her very personality to fit into spaces my family carved out for her. The one who smoothed over conflicts and overlooked slights and made excuses for being excluded. Not anymore. I spent the rest of Christmas Day documenting everything. I printed out screenshots, wrote down dates and incidents going back years. I called my friend Sarah, who'd been telling me for months that my family treated me poorly. For the first time, I actually listened instead of defending them. "Beck, I've been waiting for this call for years," Sarah said when I told her what happened. "The way they talk to you, the way they make decisions without including you. I've watched you tie yourself in knots trying to understand what you did wrong when the problem was never you. Why didn't you say something sooner?" "Because you weren't ready to hear it. You had to see it for yourself." That night, I made a decision. I was done being the family problem, the one who made things complicated by existing. If they wanted a family without me, they could have it. But they were going to face the consequences of their choice. Over the next few days, the calls and texts started. Tom first, then Maria, then Jessica, all saying the same things. Mom told us you're upset. We were going to include you next time. You're being too sensitive. Family is complicated. Classic damage control. Rush to smooth things over before I could think too clearly about what had happened. Keep me focused on my reaction instead of their action. But I'd spent the past week researching family manipulation tactics. I recognized every strategy they deployed, the gaslighting. It wasn't as bad as you think, the minimizing. It was just one Christmas, the guilt-tripping. You're tearing the family apart over this. To each family member who called, I said the same thing. I'm taking some time to think about what I want from family relationships going forward. I'll contact you when I'm ready. The calls became more frequent, more desperate. Dad called and yelled at me for destroying Christmas. Jessica cried and said I was being cruel to punish everyone for one mistake. Tom accused me of being vindictive and immature. But Sarah was right. I wasn't ready to hear the truth before, and now I couldn't unsee it. Every conversation proved my point. Not one person apologized for the deception. Not one person acknowledged how hurtful their actions had been. Every call was about managing my reaction, not addressing their behavior. 3 weeks into January, I made another decision. I changed my phone number and didn't give it to any family members. I updated my social media settings so they couldn't see my posts or tag me. I returned all the Christmas gifts I'd bought them, still wrapped, with a note. Since I'm clearly not part of this family, you won't be needing these. The response was swift and ugly. Jessica called my work number, screaming about how I was destroying the family over nothing. Mom showed up at my house, demanding I stop this nonsense and come to Sunday dinner like a mature adult. Tom sent a series of texts from his wife's phone, calling me selfish and cruel. But something amazing happened as I held my boundaries. The chaos that always seemed to swirl around my family, the drama I'd always thought was normal, it stayed with them. My life became peaceful. I spent Sunday mornings reading instead of walking on eggshells through tense family dinners. I made plans without checking with 6 different people first. I discovered I actually enjoyed my own company when it wasn't constantly being judged or managed. Sarah introduced me to her family game night. Her parents treated me with more warmth and respect in one evening than my biological family had shown me in years. When I mentioned I'd never experienced parents who actually listened without interrupting or judging, Sarah's mom hugged me and said, "Well, you're part of our family now, if you want to be." I cried in their bathroom afterward, not from sadness but from relief. This was what family was supposed to feel like: safe, accepting, actually loving instead of just claiming to love. 6 months later, Jessica's marriage imploded. Without me to focus their drama on, my family turned on each other. The perfect family from the Instagram post revealed itself to be held together by having a common target: me. Without their scapegoat, all their underlying issues bubbled to the surface. Maria called me from a new number in March. "Rebecca, I need to tell you something. The way we treated you at Christmas, it wasn't right. We were all talking about it. And Jessica suggested not inviting you because she said you always cause drama, but looking back, you never caused drama. You just didn't go along with everything we wanted, and we punished you for it." It was the first real apology I'd received. Not an apology for my reaction, but for their actions. "Jessica's been doing the same thing to Tom's wife now," Maria continued. "Excluding her from things, making snide comments, turning us against her. I see the pattern now, and I see what we did to you." I thanked her for calling, but I didn't rush back. The damage wasn't just one Christmas dinner. It was decades of being treated as less important, less worthy, less family than everyone else. One apology couldn't undo 35 years of systematic exclusion. But it was a start. Maria and I began talking regularly. She filled me in on the family implosion. Dad had to choose sides when Mom and Jessica started fighting over the Christmas incident. Tom's wife had documented all of Jessica's manipulative behavior and presented it to the family like a case study. Uncle David had cut contact with everyone after being screamed at for enabling my selfishness. The perfect family was crumbling, and I felt no satisfaction in it. Just sadness for all the years we could have been truly close if they'd been willing to treat me as an equal instead of a scapegoat. By Christmas of that year, I hosted my own celebration. Sarah and her family came, along with 3 coworkers who'd become real friends, and Maria with her baby. We played games, shared stories, and laughed until our sides hurt. No one walked on eggshells. No one managed anyone else's emotions. No one got excluded for having opinions or taking up space. As I looked around my living room at people who chose to be there, who genuinely enjoyed my company, I realized something profound. I'd spent 35 years trying to earn love from people who'd already decided I wasn't worth it. Now I was surrounded by people who loved me not despite who I was, but because of it. The best revenge against a family that excluded me wasn't plotting against them. It was building a life so full of genuine love and acceptance that their rejection became irrelevant. They'd tried to make me believe I was the problem, that I was too much, too difficult, too complicated for love. They were wrong. I wasn't too much. They were just too small to hold all of me. And finally, for the first time in my life, that was their loss, not mine.